Screenwriters, welcome back to my channel. This is Stephanie Bourbon of Story Concierge, and I'm so excited that you are here. Today we are going to talk about screenwriting techniques that will help your novel. I hope that you will subscribe and hit that bell so you get notifications every Wednesday, so you will come back and watch my videos and comment, get involved in the conversation, join the Facebook group, and share with your friends. Let's get started. Today I'm going to talk to you about how screenwriting can help your novel writing. The first way that it can help is that it teaches you how to condense everything down. Novelists, because we're novelists, we tend to describe everything and we go on and on and on, and the chapters are huge. In screenwriting, you don't have that luxury because you basically cannot write anything except the dialogue and a line or two about the action that's happening, and that's it. The rest is up to the director and everybody else who's involved, because a screenplay is done by tons of people unless you are a complete independent filmmaker and you're doing it 100% by yourself, which you never are. So the first tip that I'm going to say is to use screenplay method to shorten your novel, shorten the words, and just get to the essence of what's happening. That's the first thing. And if you don't know how to do that, don't worry. I'm going to post a lot of screenwriting resources down below in the description, so you can, after you watch this video, you can go check those out and learn if you've never written a screenplay. A lot of us tend to do both, but I know there are some novelists that are like, I can't even imagine writing a screenplay. It seems so foreign. It's not foreign. You just have to use a lot less words. Tip number 2 is that when you write a screenplay, you're doing mostly dialogue. So that's another thing. Go into your chapters. If you have a chapter that's not working, and pull out all the dialogue and see if that dialogue moves the story forward and shows the reader who the character is. And if it doesn't, maybe as an exercise, it's not going to go into your book, but just write out a bunch of dialogue. Like, if I was writing dialogue about what's happening right now, I'm talking to you about screenwriting to help your novel, I might actually just write what I'm actually saying. And that's it. I'm not going to go into descriptions about the table or the bookshelf behind me or the red shirt I'm wearing or my hair color or anything. It is literally just going to be what I'm saying. And what that does is it really helps you see if things are working, or if your dialogue is going on too much, or maybe your story is just not there. Because we all have those problems. Everybody stalls. I have yet to meet a writer, especially a novelist, that can just blast out a novel and is perfect. So it's a really good way to shorten it. I'm going to ask you a question, and below, hopefully that you will comment. Please tell me what you struggle with when you're writing your novel, and if you've ever written a screenplay. Have you written a screenplay? And if you have, if it helps you, please comment below so we can help other people who maybe haven't. Okay, the next tip that I'm going to say, and this is screenwriting, is to beat out your story. I've talked about this in my middle video, which there's going to be a link to in the description as well, but it's really important if you beat out what happens in the story. Chapter 1, boy meets girl. Chapter 2, boy asks girl on date. Chapter 3, boy's parents say, no, you can't go out with that girl. Chapter 4, they run away together. Chapter 5, there's a fire at the boy's parents' house. Wow, this sounds like a pretty good book. No, I'm just kidding. But you know what I mean? Like, a beat sheet is literally the beats of the story. What happens in each beat? A beat could be a chapter. I like to use my beats as chapters, and I think it's just because I come from screenwriting and also animation, and animation is very visual. So that is going to be my next tip, is after you do your beat sheets and you have your dialogue exercises, storyboard. And if you're thinking like, but I'm not an artist, and I know you are, and so it might be easy for you. People say that to me all the time. Let me tell you, it doesn't matter. And the stuff I do when I'm writing a novel is not what I would consider art, or I would submit to an art director or an animation director, or even put in a gallery. It is scribbling. It does not matter. The reason that storyboarding is so good for your novel and also your screenplay. Screenplays tend to storyboard everything out, not animation. That's something completely different, but live action tend to storyboard everything out to see if the shots are working. It's a good way to test it without setting everything up, because it's very expensive to shoot a film. And also the same for TV shows. I don't know that many live action TV shows that do storyboarding, but for live action films, I've worked on a few. They always do it. It really helps. But for novels, you do it a little bit different. The reason that I do it is to see if the same exact thing is happening in each scene. For example, I wrote this book about this boy who accidentally kills somebody, and he's working in a hospital part-time. He becomes friends with the kid in the hospital, and I had, I would say, 6 or 7 chapters where every single scene the two boys were talking in the hospital room. Now, either that better be some pretty amazing dialogue, or that's not going to work. If you storyboard out, you will very quickly see that, like, if you have character A over here talking to character B, blah blah blah, in this chapter, and then the next chapter it's the same thing. Oh my God. And that's going to be very boring. If it's boring to you on the paper and the storyboards, it's going to be boring to your readers. So storyboarding is a very, very good way to do it. Another thing is outlining with the acts. Most screenplays are 3 acts, which basically means Act 1, which is about a quarter of the movie. Now, I know I'm getting into formula, which is something that a lot of people do. Robert McKee talks about it, but also people break formula. But in most movies, at 20% or 20 minutes in, 19 pages in, if you're reading a screenplay, is about where the inciting incident happens, or when what Martha Adelson, the plot whisperer, calls the exotic world, which everything changes for your character. So if you're writing a novel, that quarter mark is also very important. So if you break it up like a screenplay and just know at about that quarter mark, or maybe a fifth, that's when things really need to start changing and everything is going to change for your character. Then Act 2, and I'm going like this because it's huge. Act 2 is actually 2 parts. It's part 1 of Act 2 and then part 2 of Act 2. And in screenwriting, it breaks it down. There's the hero's journey way to do it, and if you look at things like Save the Cat or Contour, they're very, very good with this, and I will put links below in the description. And then there's Act 3, which basically wraps everything up. So plotting is something I can talk about in another video, but in screenwriting, the way that you plot out with the beat sheets and the storyboards is really helping get that structure down. And I feel like a lot of novelists write novels because they have all these amazing ideas and then they get lost in there, where with screenplays it's nearly impossible. And also, I'm going to suggest, if you've never written or read a television show, find a teleplay. There is tvwriter.com. There's tons of resources. I will put some below as well, so you don't have to spend time Googling. I will do that work for you, because TV shows are even more structured than screenplays, because there's commercial breaks if they're on national network television, and they're very, very structured into acts. Like Grey's Anatomy, I think right now is up to 6 acts. It used to be 4, but now it is 6 acts. Sitcoms, you either have 2 or 3 because they're a lot shorter. So the structure, it really helps you keep everything concise. I mean, imagine if someone said, tell me everything that happens in your book in 5 sentences, meaning Act 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, tell me what happens. That goes to my next thing, is that a way you can do it is just write down what happens in every single act. Just break it down as simple as possible. When I'm writing screenplays, I always do that. What happens? Act 1, Billy finds out his father was shot. Act 2, he goes to find out who shot his father. Act 3, he falls in love with the person that shot his father. Act 4, does that make sense? I just made that up. I don't have a screenplay about someone called Billy, but you know what I'm saying. It is really just breaking it down as simple as possible. So the recap of this is to use the screenplays to help you break down your novel in the most simple possible way. And I know that there's so many people that are great at outlining, but I'm telling you, this is a really good revision tool after you've finished your novel, especially when you're getting comments back saying that I wasn't sure about it, or I got bored, or if you're getting those rejections from agents and you're not sure why, it's probably because the story is slowing down somewhere or the plot is getting mixed up, and using screenwriting techniques is a really, really good way to help solve those problems. So I hope this was helpful. Please comment below. Let's start a conversation. I hope you will subscribe and share, and I will see you next Wednesday. Thank you so much, and happy writing.